Hey everyone, I finished watching next Ninja Storm episode, General Deception Part 1. Oh boy, Ninja Storm does another two-parter. Is it good? Ninja Storm doesn't have a good track record with multi-parters. That's the weirdest thing I've noticed on this particular rewatch of the series is I've noticed that Ninja Storm does tons of multi-parters, and they're usually really bad. Or they're decent episodes that have no business being multi-parters. So, beginning of the episode, the Rangers are going camping, and Cam is at Ninja Ops working on improvements to the Megazords. Up on Lothor's ship, Vexicus and Zergain argue about who's the best. Okay, moving on from that to the more interesting thing, the Rangers are stopped by this girl who asks for help rescuing a friend. She was rock climbing and her rope is about to break. They bring their own rope, and Blake goes down to carry her up. And there's a couple of little interesting subtle things here. Blake specifically says that he's the lightest, so he'll go down. That's a cool little acknowledgement, and it helps the episode feel like the writers know the characters, like they recognize them as characters and not it wasn't just an interchangeable plot. They actually take their physical attributes into account, and that's really cool. It's something that as the years go on they kind of drop, and the Rangers are pretty much interchangeable later on. And there's another thing, there's a little subplot theme at the beginning when the Rangers are getting ready to go camping. Tori sees them packing the van full of tech, and she's like, you get the idea that camping is supposed to be roughing it, right? And they're like, well, then why do we have an electric generator? And so they're piling a bunch of electronics into the van, and it doesn't really go anywhere this episode, but it's a cute little character moment. So anyway, they get to the girl who's hanging from the rope. Blake goes down to rescue her and carry her back up when suddenly the girl turns into a Kelzak. And then all the people there are Kelzaks, and the Rangers are overwhelmed by Kelzaks. Specifically, Kelzak Furies. And one of the weirdest things, this fight scene is probably the longest, like, foot soldier fight scene in all of Power Rangers. Like, this rivals Mighty Morphin's putty fights. Like, I'm pretty sure there were some putty fights that lasted a good while. This one, it goes on for some time. Like, it's not, like, annoying or anything. It's all good stuff. It's just kind of unusual that a foot soldier fight would last this long, and also that it's only Kelzak Furies. So, I was wondering why that was, and all I could guess was, like, I don't know, maybe Bandai said, we'll give you some extra money for some episodes, but you have to promote our red Kelzak toys or something. Maybe. So anyway, let's see. The Kelzaks cut Blake's rope, but before he falls, he's able to morph, and then the others morph. They continue fighting. Let's see. Oh, and Zergain joins in, and he's fighting the Rangers. Shane uses his battleizer, and eventually they fight them off, and then they just continue camping. And the weird thing is, we don't really see a scene of Zergain and the Kelzak Furies retreating. They're fighting, it cuts away, cuts back, they're going camping. Almost makes me wonder if this scene was, like, added in after the fact or something. Let's see. Tori is still on about the others don't really get the point of camping as they just hook everything up to the electric generator, and she says she's going to leave and help Cam at Ninja Ops. But the van is stuck in the mud. The Rangers are trying to push it out. They get covered in mud. The van, like, it slides out of the mud, but it crashes right into the generator and breaks down everything. And I guess also the van is stuck in the mud again, maybe, because she doesn't leave. Or, I don't know. She sticks around to cook some burgers, and since the mini fridge isn't working, she puts the soda in the nearby stream to keep them cool, which I remember going camping when I was a kid, and that was... Oh, and also in Cub Scouts, I remember that was a thing that they taught us about, like, if you bring soda, you should, like, put it in a stream, and they'll keep it cool overnight or something. So that was a neat little thing that reminded me of being a kid. Um, anyway, the Rangers all go shower off somewhere. I don't know, maybe there's a waterfall off to the side somewhere that we don't see. They change their clothes, and they're about to relax going camping, but Shimatsu and Vexicus come down and just act like jerks, I guess. That's a weird thing. At the beginning, there's this like rivalry set up between Vexicus and Zurgane. Like they're both going to come up with some plan to defeat the Rangers, and Zurgane's plan actually makes sense earlier, where, yeah, trick the Rangers and then ambush them with Kelzax. But then Shimatsu and Vexicus's plan is just show up and fight with them. Like, they don't even bring a monster or anything, it's just them by themselves. And anyway, Lothor sends Zurgane back down, and let's see, Zurgane has something that can replicate ranger powers, he says, but whatever. That doesn't really come into play this episode. I guess it's for next episode. Let's see, Cam joins the Rangers, just as Zurgane shows up with another Megazord, and they just treat it really casually. It's so weird. Where does Zurgane keep getting Megazords from? He pulls them out of his butt or something? Does he have a stockpile of Megazords somewhere? Why isn't this a bigger plot point? Shouldn't the Rangers be going to find, like, wherever he has all of his Megazords stashed away and destroy them? Like, I know it's probably because this was Hurricaneger footage and Zurgane's counterpart has, like, robots for whatever reason, but why don't they treat it like it's special over here? Every time Zurgane shows up with his own Megazord, it's not treated any different than if he just showed up with a monster. So anyway, the Rangers get their own Megazords, and they take turns using different power discs against him. They really don't take this seriously. Oh, and Shimatsu and Vexicus, they just leave them there. They never retreat, they just stand there and watch the Megazord battle. And I'd like to imagine Zurgane showing up with the Megazord, the Rangers stop fighting Shimatsu and Vexicus, and they're like, oh man, we gotta get the Megazords! And so then they just leave, while Vexicus and Shimatsu are just standing there watching them leave. Bye. And then the episode ends on a really weird note. They're fighting Zurgane's Megazord, and they're having a teensy bit of difficulty, and then to be continued. Wow. That's gotta be one of the weakest, like, endings that Ninja Storm has had for, like, one of their multi-parters. Like, the multi-parters are usually kind of weird, like, they don't really flow well, they don't feel like a multi-parter, they feel like separate episodes that just happen to have some continuity connecting them. And there's other episodes in Ninja Storm that are connected by continuity, but they're not multi-parters. So, anyway, this episode, it's an okay episode. There's definitely some fun stuff in it, but as the first part of a multi-parter, it doesn't work. And that's definitely Ninja Storm's biggest problem, is unnecessarily labeling things as multi-parters. I'd be really curious to know if other countries, when they were dubbing Ninja Storm and adapting it to their own, like, localizations or whatever, did they bother keeping, like, the multi-parters, like, names? Because I remember, like, looking into some other countries' versions of Power Rangers, and there were certain episodes that were multi-parters over here, but in other countries they weren't. And then there's other episodes where they were multi-parters here, or they weren't multi-parters here, but they did make them into multi-parters in other countries for whatever weird reason. Anyway, it does kind of work, because it does flow into the next episode, I guess, with Zurgane and his Megazord not being defeated yet. Whatever. Anyway, what I think could have improved this episode is just not have the fight scenes. I think a slice of life episode or something with just the Rangers as themselves going camping would have been fine. Because the strength that Ninja Storm has is its characters. The personalities of the Rangers are the strongest point Ninja Storm has. Also, I think maybe the rock climbing thing, if it hadn't turned out to be Zurgane and Kelzax trying to ambush the Rangers, that would have worked just fine. Like, it was just them rescuing a rock climber. Also, there's a nice little bit there where the Rangers quickly talk to each other that if things get bad, you know what to do, right? Right. They're talking about if the worst happens, then they'll morph and not worry about if the people see them. That's a nice thing I like. It's really cool that they actually acknowledge that. And I think that would have been a more interesting plot for the episode, is if what if what if the rope broke and what if Blake's rope broke? What if Zurgane and the Furies showed up and they like cut the rope? The Rangers fight them off, but then oh no, the rope's broken and Blake has to morph to save the girl. And like the plot is, are the people going to keep that secret? I think that'd be really interesting, but that's not the direction the episode goes in. So moving on. Oh. Oh yeah, the other weird thing with this, I was expecting way more from Mara and Capri. At the beginning of the episode, they're set up as kind of secondary antagonists for Zurgane and Vexicus. When they're arguing, they go to Zurgane and say, "Hey, Vexicus said that you're a loser," or something like that. And it like ticks him off, and I thought that like they were going to be there like fanning the flames of their argument and they were going to play into their conflict, but nope, they disappear after the beginning. I don't even know why they had to be there. They didn't really accomplish anything here. Um, the, yeah, there's not really a whole lot to this episode, unfortunately. It's a decent episode. It's kind of like the VR Troopers episode I just watched, Defending Darkheart Part 3. There's a lot of stuff going on, and at the same time, there's nothing going on. There's a lot of plot points going all over the place that don't really connect, and then it just kind of ends on low stakes. And actually, now the VR Trooper episode had high stakes. This episode of Ninja Storm, this has really low stakes. Like, oh no, our one attack didn't work against Zurgane, even though we outnumber him, and we haven't really been taking this seriously. We're just testing out different power discs that we haven't used in a while. Like, oh no, we can't defeat Zurgane because we're not taking this seriously. Yeah, no crap. Whatever. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. It's an okay episode. It's just kind of dumb. So, actually, yeah, that sums up Ninja Storm. It's okay. It's just kind of dumb. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.